Hi there, it's Debbie Anderson here today from Inner Liberation Healing, and I am here to help you on your healing path. So I haven't done a video in a little while, and today I am going to talk with you about entities. So what are entity attachments? Spiritual entities, entity attachments can attach to a energy body or damage the auric field when the person has suffered from any kind of trauma, abuse, depression, pain, addictions, intense grief. They've maybe had an accident, some surgery, a serious hospital stay where you're there for numerous days can be the point where the entities can attach to the person. The person usually doesn't realize that they have an entity attached. However, it's very, very common, and about 70% of the world's population will at some point in their lives experience an entity attachment. So what is an entity release? And this is a technique that I use with Soul Center Healing Hypnosis in a session. And it is part of the therapy where the subconscious mind confirms that there's an attachment, a negative entity, and it allows the compassionate release of this entity back to source. So once the entity attaches itself to a person, it can influence many things about a person, their attitudes, their choices, their decision making, their behaviors. And some key indications that an entity is attached can be the following. You might feel out of control. Brain fog is very common, anxiety, even panic, low self-esteem, a sudden change in your personality or your behavior. You might feel different if there's been an organ transplant and be a different person after. You might have a new taste for something which is completely out of the blue. Or you might feel suicidal or having thoughts of self-harm, destructive self-sabotaging behaviors. You might feel you have your temper is out of control. You're suffering from depression, perhaps. You become a different person when you've been drinking. You might have periods of time where you're blacking out, or there's times that you're missing. And people that have addictions to alcohol, drugs, pornography, and so on, they are more susceptible to attachments. So if any trauma or injury occurred in your childhood, you might have more than one entity attached, and it can cause your auric field to have a fracture in it and allowing the entities to come in over time. And these entities can attach when I was mentioning that if you have been influenced by alcohol, even sleeping tablets or other forms of street drugs, for example, when your energetic guard is down. Some people have even experienced difficulties when they've had a tattoo. During the painful procedure that a tattoo is there, they've slipped in. So who are they? Well, there's many different types of entities, maybe too many to mention, but they fall into two camps usually. One is a discarnate spirit and dark entities. So discarnate spirits are human bodies, human people, who have died, and they haven't crossed over properly. They got lost on the way, they didn't see the light, and they didn't return to the spirit side, and then they've attached on the earth plane to someone here. So generally it might be due to an addiction or a strong attachment that a person has to someone else, or the addiction or a place, and then they attach them, and this feeds their habit. And there's a strong tie to perhaps a person or a place, and this is usually around one of the addictions. The dark entities are reptilians. They've not had a physical body in a 3D realm, and they're in that realm in another dimension. They attach to their host, and they siphon or extract the energies from the humans. The earthbound spirits have been human, and as I mentioned, they've passed on, but they haven't passed over. So they're confused. They don't know where to go. They don't know where they are. So usually they might not even realize they're dead. and they have unfinished business. So it could be possible for a deceased family member to attach to a loved one. The more negative variety, though, is the demons and the reptilians I was talking about, the demonic entities, which have a very low polarized realm. So people who are most susceptible to multiple entity attachments are those who live and work around hospitals, dying people, nurses, paramedics, surgeons, healthcare workers, police officers, emergency service personnel, people that work in a cemetery, mortuary. So if any of this sounds familiar to you, if you feel that you might have an entity attachment, and you might not even know it, actually. Most of us don't. I didn't. You can get a hold of me and look at my information here on the website and book a session with me. And that is done via my YouTube channel, which has the links also to my website, where there's some booking information. So what I do is soul center healing hypnosis, and this is a very all around, if you might want to call it that, healing modality, which includes scanning your body with your higher self in the process to see if you have any attachments or entities. And if you do, then with the help of higher beings, I assist to remove these entities and send them back to source. And it's a very compassionate technique, and it certainly benefits the client and also the person and or the entities that have attached, whether they're earthbound spirits or whether they're the other entities that are demonic and more dark. So the thing about this particular modality, it benefits everyone's health and well-being, and that includes, as I mentioned, the entities that have been attached. So they are actually reunited with Source if they are indeed organic consciousness. If they are AI, they are taken completely out of the universe. So you can find some of my videos which explains, their actual sessions with people, and listen to more of that to find out what I'm talking about. So if you're interested in a session, if you want to know more about this, then leave me a comment or book a session with me. And if we confirm during your session that there's entities, we'll remove them. And it also, I also, during those sessions, do past regression, and also quantum healing. So, and you also get your questions answered by your higher self, which is extremely cool. So I hope this answers your questions about entities. Some people find that they're quite anxious about this subject, and I can understand that. Initially, I was kind of worried about it, and the thing is if these beings are in us, I didn't know that I had these attachments, and once they were removed, I have to say, my entire view of entities and also how I see the world now is changed for the good. And certainly I've been finding that with many of my clients. So you can find the information below about booking a session. And until next time, take care.